Hi, this is Julie Thompson reporting from the Yahoo Refresh Lounge here in Cannes in the beautiful south of France. I'm here with David Sable, the CEO of Y&R. Cheers, David.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Everybody. Man, you wouldn't do this back in New York, trust me.
Exactly. So we're here on the Côte d'Azur to talk about the world's best marketing, and we hear Y&R is up for quite a few potential Grand Prix winners. Who are the contenders this year?
Who are the contenders? A bunch of different work. So you don't want to jinx it. You don't want to talk about it. But I think what's interesting about our work, so far it's only Monday, but we've got more shortlists than we've had before. So that's pretty exciting. But I think from my perspective, what makes it most interesting, it's spread out across the world. So it's not there are no dominant offices. It used to be. You had dominant offices.
Yeah.
Today, really, I think it's just a testimony to our network and to the creativity that we have all around the world.
That's great, real depth. Now, what about, is the work spread out across categories, and are there contenders in, say, branded content?
Yeah, so I think what you're seeing in Cannes in general is that work is spread across many categories, and I think that was a big insight we had a couple of years ago. And I think it's partially because the digital age that we live in, content, what used to be called work, which we now call content, is now spread across many more categories because it all comes from some digital core. So before, what might have just been film is now pieces of it or assets from it could be branded content, it could be print, it could be all these different kinds of things, and the print leads into the digital, and the digital leads into because digital could be TV, it could be anything, it could be web, it could be mobile. So all of a sudden you have one campaign, one set of assets spread across literally a multitude of categories, and I think that's very exciting. And I think it just makes the whole experience here that much more interesting.
Yeah. Do you think the festival's getting too big? They had something like 35,000 entries from 90 countries across all these categories. Is it too much?
The only thing that's getting too big is you can't get a drink at the Carlton bar at night. Other than that, no, I think again, I think that the organizing committee, the Lions Group, has done a brilliant job in really making this an important place to be. And I think that the work that you see and the fact that so much more work is being brought in here is very important.
Yeah, entries were up 20%.
Yeah, and it should be, because I think that people are beginning to understand that this is it's a place to learn. Just entering all that work you learn. Because just the ability to look through all the different categories and look and see who gets shortlisted and even who doesn't get shortlisted. I mean, I think that's really, it's part of the experience here and part of the learning.
Mm-hmm. You've written a lot about what it takes to win at Cannes. What are the top 2 or 3 things you would advise creatives?
So, I'm always pretty consistent about that. I think that you have to make sure that the work that you choose to enter here is in the right category, that it's clear, or the right multiple categories. I think, again, because there's so many multiple categories, people tend to look at their work and say, oh, I can be across. And you have a jury that sits there and goes, huh? Like, we don't get it. So it has to be clear. I think, just in terms of what you enter, I think, again, what wins is work that's relevant, work that speaks to, that's so simple that you really don't have to explain it too much. And when you do explain it, you better make sure you explain it. If you feel you need to, it has to be clear and concise. People want to know if it's real. They want to know what the results were. They want to get some feeling of how the work did. So there is now a category of effectiveness, but even in the general categories, people are looking at that box that says, how did it do? What did it do? And I think that the more you can tell the jury about how successful it was and what it did for the client's business, the more chance you have of winning.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice. And speaking of clients, I hear you have something like 15 clients here from 12 client companies?
Yeah.
What's with clients all over the place?
So I think clients, I think it's actually good for us. I think clients have realized that this is a place to be. It's not just clients. I mean, look at the media companies that are here. If you go back 30 years, actually more than 30 years, it gives my age away, but when I first became aware of Canada, I was living outside the U.S. Because no one had ever heard about it in the U.S. really. It was sort of like this esoteric kind of thing that was going on, and it was a little cultish. But I was living abroad, and it was a big deal. It was huge. everybody waited for it. You waited for the real. If you lived in, depending on the country you lived in, but very often there'd be a big festival in that country, and they'd take over the art theater, and there'd be a big show, and everybody would come, and you'd watch it on the big screen. I mean, it was fabulous. But it was very much about creatives being creative. And so I think what's happened is, again, we've come back to the notion that this is all important to clients' business. What we do drives our clients' business. So clients said, well, if that's the case, then we need to be here too.
Yeah.
And so it's become a place where clients and agencies and media all kind of intermingle, and even more than just clients, agencies, and media. I mean, you have TED here, right? So it's become a place for thought leadership. I think it's become a place where people come to share. It's sort of a neutral zone, which is kind of interesting. So, so it's like a Star Wars kind of thing, or a Star Trek. You kind of the neutral zone, right? So everybody can meet. You can meet on the Croisette. You can meet at the Gutter Bar. You can meet at the Carlton. You can meet here at the Yahoo. I mean, you can meet someplace and have a discussion and talk, and I think that's important.
That's true. That's true. And those discussions, that's where the magic happens. And
Absolutely.
Years later, it's like, I had rosé with David Sable, on the Croisette, and you remember that years
Absolutely.
later.
Some of my best friends today are people that I met here over the years.
Yeah.
People who were in competitive agencies or at a client or something, and not even my clients in competitive agencies, but people I sat next to at a dinner.
Right.
I met at a cocktail party or something. You start to talk, and the next thing you know, you've common ground, and you move on.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it really is. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
and
you.
I'll see you all week long, I'm sure.
I
on the
look forward.
Croisette. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.